Hello, friend. This is Ryan Hicks, TalkToProfit.com, and today I want to talk to you about why every Christian should be thinking big. Now, obviously, that is a subjective term because what may be big to one person may be small thinking to another person. But whatever you are currently thinking, whatever level you're operating at, you should be thinking many levels ahead. If you're thinking about how you can make $1,000 a week, maybe you should be thinking how you can make $4,000 a week or $10,000 a week. Really ramp that up and think big. When you look around the universe, and we know so little about it, except how massive and seemingly infinite it is, and you know your God created that, and yet you're thinking this little, tiny, small, minor thinking, this thinking where it's true selfishness, where you're only concerned to get enough to meet your needs and your family's needs, and that's it. That kind of small thinking is what's kept people in poverty, kept them in bondage, kept them limited. And it was not what Jesus came to give. He said he came to give us life, more abundant life, the life that's abundant in him. And he is the light that lighteth every man that cometh into the world. You know within you, there is that light within you. You know of him, that all things are yours in him. And he freely, liberally, graciously gives you all things to enjoy. So why would you have any limits? Now, I have to clarify this because people say, well, but I don't know how to do this, or I don't. No. This is not about you. This is about you with your faith in God. And with that in mind, you have no limits. Sure, maybe by yourself you have some limits. There's things you're not good at. We all have those things. But when it's you and God partnered together in business and in life, what limits are there for you? And the answer is none. So why would you think small? Why would you believe for something small? God's not limited, so why are you limiting him to a small thing that you ask of him? A small thing you're believing for from him? Jesus made it very clear that with God, all things are possible. So if you're with God, all things are possible to you. He also said in a similar vein that to him that believeth, all things are possible. You combine those together. If you believe and you have your faith in God, as Jesus said, you'll have whatsoever you say. So why don't you start saying big things, major things, massive things, things that seem ridiculous, but understanding there's no limit in him? Speak those things. Don't speak about the doubts of the past. Don't speak about the negativity that happened to you in your childhood or whatever it may be. And those may be important things for teaching lessons, but that shouldn't be something you're bringing up every day, dragging yourself back to the past, living out the past, believing your future is going to be like the past, and dragging fears into the future. There's a quote that's attributed to Mark Twain, and this is not the exact quote, but this is a paraphrase of it, where he said that I've suffered many things in my life, and some of them actually happened. You see, the point he was making was that fear causes so much suffering, needless suffering. It limits people, it keeps them down, it keeps them from fulfilling the greatness that God wants for them to fulfill. And the things they were fearing didn't even happen most of the time. You don't want to live a life based in fear. You don't want to live a life thinking small. Small thinking is always based in fear. It's based in scarcity mentality, that there's a limitation, that there's not enough, or there's only enough for you. And if you try to get any more, that's somehow greedy or something, because there's just this limited pie. You take too much of it, then someone else is not going to get, and you're taking from them in that sense, which of course is untrue, because it's limitless. And there's no limitation in God. If something you think is scarce, think is limited, you're serving the Almighty Creator who can make more of that if that is what the case requires. There's no limitation. And you don't want to get dragged down into fear and that scarcity mentality, which is 100% based in fear. That lack mentality, which is 100% based in fear. You want to have that faith-filled mentality where you're walking by faith, not by sight. Where you're bold as a lion. Where you have confidence and faith, knowing confidently that whatsoever you say, you will have. But that being the case, think big things. Speak big things. And it may require you getting away from people who are dragging you down, who aren't speaking those big things, who try to talk to you about the past. Well, you're talking about this big thing over here, but remember when you tried this and it failed? Remember when this bad thing happened? Remember someone did this and it didn't work out for them? And they start trying to drag you down. And you have to understand, many of those people are doing it because they are afraid. They are actually terrified. And they're worried for you because of their own fears. It's very rarely that that's malicious. It's almost always just a fear-based thing where somebody is scared and they're trying to tell you the reasons why they're scared and trying to pull you back down to where they are, wallowing around in fear. And that's where most people operate from. That's why they don't think big. That's why they think small. And they'll go to church on Sundays and talk about the greatness of God and the goodness of God and His grace and mercy, and they don't believe it during the week. They're talking small, they're thinking small, they're living small. I want you to turn that completely around. Talk big, think big, live big. Instead of thinking, what's the cheapest I can get something for? Think, what is the most I can get something for? What is the bigness, the greatness of God that could be manifested in this situation, whatever it may be, whether it's your health, whether it's finances, whether it's relationship, whatever, your kids, education, anything. What would be the big, great, infinite goal that I could put into this and have faith for and truly believe and truly speak in faith and confidence in Him? And when you start looking for that, start looking for the big thing, start looking for the way of doing things big and thinking big and expecting big, good things, knowing the goodness of God, you, my friend, will receive. My friend, I pray this is a blessing for you. May God bless you richly.